Hello and welcome back to Bayhill Studio. Today I am working on a really fast and easy whole cloth baby quilt using this adorable cheater cloth from the Calico collection designed by Holt for Riley Blake Designs. So it looks like the classic grandmother's garden design with, which typically would have all the little hexagons, and these are just it's like a fake cheater print. The hexagons here are not defined, and so I've decided, I did this on a previous quilt that you can go back and look at. I've decided to quilt this, I'm just going to go around the outline of all of the flowers, but also in to create that look of hexagons. So I'll show you. Super easy. It's going to be done free motion quilting. And so if you haven't free motion quilted before, it's really easy. I would just look up on your machine how to set it up on your machine. On my machine, I just turn the lever to lower the feed dogs. Then I turn my dial to 0 length on the stitch length, and then I need to change out my presser foot to a free motion quilting foot, and I can show you what that looks like. So it looks like this. It's got this little opening, and some of them look different. This is the one that got a little fuzz on there. This is the one that I use for my machine, that comes with my machine. Yours might have, like, it might be more of a U shape instead of a closed circle. So any of these are fine. It's got a little spring that helps it to just go up and down, and then I also raise the pressure on my feed dog up by turning this knob on my machine so that the foot isn't pressing down hard on the fabric. It's elevated just a little bit. And a little bit more about this quilt. I had 1 yard of fabric for this top piece and 1 yard for the back. Now typically on the back I want a few more inches to extend out for that freedom in case the fabric shifts. Because it's just a 1 yard quilt, I don't think it's going to shift, and I'm not doing straight lines, which does tend to cause some shifting no matter how I try to prevent that. So I think I'll be fine. But yeah, and then the other thing is, because it's 1 yard, when I do trim it, it's going to be less than 1 yard for a baby quilt, which is fine. This is just for a baby quilt, quick and easy. And I think I'm going to go in and cut the edges around so it looks like these are actual true hexes. So I'm not going to have a rectangle. Just follow along. I'll show you how I'm doing that. But yeah, this is the back. It's this really sweet purple print. Let me give you a close-up. Like a really deep purple there. I love the little stars. I just love this. It's kind of, well, the whole thing is very retro looking. I just love it. Very mid-century. So let me think. That's it. I'm using a pink thread, any color thread this is such a multicolored piece that any color thread would be good. I think the pink will look good on the back against the purple. Blue is another one I debated using, and that would probably look good too. So I'm just going to get going with the free motion quilting. I'll start out slow and talk you through what I'm doing, and then I'll speed it up, and this will be a really quick project. All right, so I am going to start in the middle portion. You can start anywhere. I like to start in the middle and work my way towards the center and out, just so that I have less pulling. I've got my free motion foot in, and I'm just going to start a few stitches and then trim off this thread, which I just don't want to have in my way. And then I'm just going to start outlining the first flower. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I think this is the presser foot that gives me problems, so I'm going to switch it out in just a second. Before I do that, I just want to show you. So it's going to be inevitable that you're going to have to backtrack along lines that you've already done. And so just don't even worry about that. Just try to stay right on the previous line when you have to backtrack. But let me see if I can turn it this way. I want to kind of show you how that's looking so far. I don't know if you can see, but it does create definition. After I get a section done, I will take this off and give you a close-up. Right now, I am going to, I don't know if you can hear that noise that's happening. So I'm going to backtrack out to this edge and then come back with a different presser foot, and hopefully that will do the trick. Okay, I am back in business, and I think that did the trick. So I'm going to continue around, and you can just see the process. All right, so one flower is done, and now I can just decide which direction I want to go. I think I'm going to work this direction towards me. And actually, I take that back. I'm going to work out this way a little bit first and then towards me. All right, so here's a close-up of what I've done so far. I've basically just done these 2 rows of flowers. So I went out to the middle of the quilt on 1 row and then came back. And I'm just going to kind of keep doing that, working my way out to the center and back until I've done 1 quadrant of this little quilt. And there you go. It looks like little hexagons. Isn't that fun? I love this effect. And one of the keys with the free motion quilting is just to go slow and steady so that your stitches are as even as possible. However, as you can see, I went over multiple times on certain areas, and so you're not really going to, you have to kind of give up the caring about even stitching and having it look like you hand quilted it. You can hand quilt this. This is a little project. Another fun thing to do would be to use this cheater cloth and the same exact technique, either hand or machine quilting, to make like a table runner or table topper or anything like that. So this is really versatile. You can make it however you want. So I am going to now continue on. Wow, okay, a lot has happened. I finished quilting everything, and these pins that you see here and here, and there's a few more, are um, little seams, or I wouldn't even call it a seam, little angles that I forgot to stitch. So I'm going to go back through, and I wanted to show you that because if this happens to you, just start at the edge and follow along your previous stitching till you get to that. And then I'm just going to like stitch on, go around, and stitch off. So you don't have to, I wouldn't start and stop right here because I don't want thread on the back, and I don't want to deal with burying thread on the front. So you can just follow over your stitching, which brings me to a little chat about, at least for me, imperfect stitching. You know I don't mind imperfect stitching, and I want to show you. Here it is from a distance. Looks great, right? Come up close and I've got these crazy, like I did not stitch perfectly on the lines. You can't tell. So if you're a perfectionist and you really don't like that and that's going to bug you, I recommend hand stitching. Free motion quilting is really fluid, and you're going to get, you know, you're going to kind of slip off of the lines that you want to go on. And so, yeah, I do recommend hand stitching if that's going to really bother you. Here, I just found another one that I missed. So, but, okay, so look close. You see all of the imperfections, all of the stitching, the wonky stitching all over the place. And then I bring it down, and it's beautiful. I can't even see it. It's great. As just the perfect amount of texture where it really looks like separate individual hexes there. So as you notice, I have two small pieces now. Here's the story. I was planning on this being a baby quilt. I had 1 yard for the front and 1 yard for the back. And this is the problem. When you don't have extra fabric on the back, it's not forgiving. I did not have the front and back lined up perfectly. And in fact, I don't even think it's that. I think that when it was cut out, I was given a little bit more of one than the other. So the back was short by about this much. And so I ended up having to cut off an entire row of flowers because I didn't have fabric covering the back of them enough. And then it ended up being a really long and skinny baby quilt, which I just didn't like. And so I looked at it and I realized I could easily get 2 beautiful table runners out of this. So let's see, these are about 42-inch long, 14 by 42 inches long table runners. So that's what I'm doing. And they're both the same width. And how cute are those? So these would be a really great gift to give. I made one mistake as I was cutting. I cut right into there. So I think I'm going to hand stitch and fix that. And then I'm going to go back and fix the little areas that I missed. And then we're going to do binding. So let me just chat about binding super quick. As easy as time saving as this cheater cloth quilt top was, like so easy. The binding is not. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time on binding and have a headache with the binding, I recommend you just cut straight edges and do regular traditional binding. You can see I cut around the flowers. That means I have to bind inside and outside angles. Not only that, but these are just an inch long. And so I have to stop the sewing machine at each angle. And this is going to take me a long time, and I consider myself a beginner at sewing these inside and outside angles. So I will walk you through how I'm doing it. But if you don't want to mess with that, then I just suggest you skip it. I think this is going to be really fun with the cutout flower outline, but I'm starting to think I was crazy for tackling this because it's going to take me forever, and I don't have forever to get this done. So cross my fingers, we get this done. All right, so I think I just need 3 strips of fabric for the binding, and so I'm just sewing my 3rd strip on. I've got 2 strips sewn together. And I'm just doing the simple overlap like this, and then sew from corner to corner. You can always draw a line from corner to corner if it helps, but after doing it a lot of times, you won't need to draw a line. So we're going to do that, and then press these. I'm going to press the seams open. That's how and people have their own ways of doing things. So if you don't want to do that, some people like to press it just to the side because it can create a stronger seam. So I just don't like the bulk when it's pressed to the side like that. And another thing to note is usually I cut 2.5 inch strips, wide strips of fabric, and this time I cut 2.25 inch strips because this is going to be such tight sewing in here. I need my binding to be as narrow as possible, and so I'm going to give that a go. Honestly, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I did not make this ahead of time. I'm completely winging it like I always do. So I'm going to take this, iron it, and come back, and we will start on the binding, and I'm a little terrified, but we're going to do this. Normally when I am binding, I have just a long straight edge. So I have room to start and stop, and I don't have that here at all. So I'm just going to start right here in the middle, and we will start on our inside corner right away. But I'm going to start my binding as far towards the other corner as I can with a little bit of extra tail. But when I'm done, usually when I finish binding, I finish it off with the overlapping method where you overlap 2 sections and then put a strip of the binding here, like so the width of the binding is under the overlaps, and then you trim it and you get this perfect angle. I can't do that here, and so we'll figure that out when it comes to it. I might do a faux angle type thing. As you can see, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So here we go. I am going to, actually, I take it back. Before I do that, I want some chalk and a ruler. And you can use, there goes my binding. You can use a fabric marker, whatever works. And I'm going to mark 1/4 inch from the seam. And I'm going to do this actually on all of my inside angles. Let me just make sure that's 1/4 inch. Okay, so we really need to do this on all of the inside angles because you're going to trim, you're going to snip. Oh, here we go. You're going to snip right to the 1/4 inch mark. What you're not going to see on film is that I just messed up right at the beginning, but that's good. Right at the beginning, figured it out. So I am going to take my scissors, and right before that intersection, I'm going to snip. And then what this means is, and I can do that here too before, I want to do this as I go, like before that chalk mark wears off. So as I go, I'm going to be stitching, and that way I can open this to a straight line. and that will reduce a lot of bulk in there. So here we go. Let's give this a go. Right away, I want to open this up like this. Now, the only problem is I need to now mark all of these corners because I'm going to have another intersection for this outside angle. So let me just stop here. And there we have the inside angle. So when I turn it over, it's going to be perfect. All right. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to go ahead and mark all of my angles up. And then this should go pretty smoothly. And then I'll show you also how I do the outside angles. And it's all easy. It's just, as you can see, a lot of stop and start and a little bit time consuming, but it's not hard. I ended up switching to a white pencil, and even that is hard to see. There you go. You can see it. And so I didn't do the whole thing because it does rub off really quickly, especially with fabrics rubbing up against each other. So I just did a section, and we're just going to get going on this section. And let's hope this works out. So we've got that one little angle done, and now I am going to get myself back on that seam that I was doing, or that line of stitching, and then I want to get my needle and put it right on the point of the exterior angle where the chalk or pencil or fabric marker intersects. And that's where I want to stop stitching. And then I'm going to turn, and right towards that point, I'm going to stitch off the edge of the fabric. Okay, so just like that. And then I'm going to fold my fabric back. So it's overlapping just a little bit here. And I'm wondering if on this little angle, if I could get away with just pivoting instead, and I'll try that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, here I'm just going to start again. Actually, let's snip that inside angle right before, and I'll do it here. We'll just do it on all the parts that I marked. So if that pencil or chalk or whatever comes off, at least I've got it marked. So we're just doing it on the inside angles. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to straighten that out and then line up this fabric, and then I'll bring the camera down for the next one closer so that you can see from a different angle. Okay, and now I'm going to get my pin and just place it. See, already it's hard to see. I don't even know if I marked that one. Goodness gracious. All right. This is how I roll, guys. This is how it goes. I hope I'm not the only one. Wow. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. So now I want to mark that and stitch right to it. Let's keep going. Let's see. My markings are already fading, honestly, like very quickly here. So I'm just going to that's snipped, so that's okay. That's snipped. Let me just remark these outside angles so that they're clear and easy to see. And then I'm actually going to mark a few more right now. Got that one. This is where you just have to trust the process and hope for the best. I just don't know. If any of you have ideas of a better way, I would love to hear it, because I am not an expert on this type of binding at all. This is my first time, so beginner. And I'm not sure. I'm getting a little scared. I'm going to be honest, a little scared. Because, I mean, this is an easy quilt to make. It wasn't hard. It didn't take a lot of my time, but you just don't want to see a project fail. And this is so cute. I don't want to waste any fabric. I don't want this to be a fail. So I'm just really hoping that this works. All right, there's a few more. And let me just snip those inside angles real quick. That one's done. Okay, so let's go. So I stitched off here, and now I'm just going to kind of place the fabric where it needs to be. Take it nice and slow. And then this I'm opening up so that I've got a straight line. And it's not that hard, but it is easier said than done, I will say. Like, you just got to maneuver it. And then once I get a few stitches in, I already have to think about finding this point, which I can't find. Oh my gosh. Okay, you know why? Because the chalk is hidden in the fabric design. So I'm second guessing myself. Okay, yep. I'm gonna mark that and then just carefully stitch till I get to that. Oh, I just lost it. Okay. Stitch off. Yeah, I genuinely would love to hear if you have a better way for these tiny angles. I almost think hand quilting could be the answer. I just don't have that kind of time, guys. Don't have it. All right. Let's see where we're at. Okay, I think we're there. So now I'm going to stitch off again. We're getting very thready in here. Okay. Open up. Find our intersection. Stitch off. And we just keep going like that. I want that to lay flat. Hopefully that makes a difference in the front. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Okay. All right. I am so impatient. I'm going to be honest, I'm already getting a little bored of this. I'm a little tired of this. So what I'm going to do is, hold on. Ooh, my pin just went in there. Hold on. There we go. What a day. What a day. What I'm going to do is I am going to put on a show to watch while I do this and calm down. Just calm down. I think I'm getting a little anxious because I don't want this to be a mess. So I'll do a few more of these, and then I'll put this on like time lapse or something, speed it up. And we'll get this done. And we're gonna love it. All right. All right, I'm almost at the end here, and I've gotten a lot better at it as I go along. So let's just finish up these last couple sides. So yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work, so I don't want to give too much encouragement on this method until we see the results. But as far as using this method, it's easy, but give it a little trial and error, because it felt a little more slow going at first, and now that I've got the hang of it, it's really fast. So fast, but not as fast as if these were just straight sides, obviously. And I will say, if these were just straight sides, I was planning to just use 3 lengths of fabric for the binding. Oops, I didn't mark that one. Let's see. One more stitch. 3 lengths of 2.5 inch strips for the binding. That turned out to be not enough. I needed 4. So I did off camera add an additional strip. All right, we are on the final one here. And what I found on these inside angles is I try to get to the point as much as I can. It's blind. I mean, you're going blind, but it makes it easier to then turn the fabric, turn and like pivot and sew. So now this is going to be really tricky because wow, I don't know what I'm going to do here. All right, we got it. They're right next to each other, our beginning and end. So I can't even really open this up. Let's see, where's my seam ripper? I think I'll open up a few stitches just so I have room to work with this. Let's see. Oh, this is like really tight. Let's see. Okay. All right, so what we'll do is actually, I can cut this a little bit more. Let's see how that goes. And we can do the faux triangle. Let's see if we can. Let's see, I would want to go this way. I don't really have enough. So I think what we're going to have to do is just, I'll cut this just a little bit more, is just do a straight overlap. Like just folding this edge under like so, and then encasing this one in it. And that's still a little too long, just a little bit too long. All right, so let's try and get this folded under first. It's really not that easy in this tight space. Okay, let's see what happens. So I'm going to nestle that in. I've got to trim it just a hair more. All right, so I'm going to fold this under. That's going to be the easiest way, and it's really just like right at where the other stitching ends. And I think I'm going to put a pin to hold that while I get the top part over it. And then we'll hold all of that in place. And then I am going to just maneuver this fold a little better after the fact, I think, when I fold it over. Right now I just want to get this stitched. And that's the best I can do in this tiny little area. I'm sure a more, careful quilter or experienced quilter could do better, but I've literally never done this technique before, so we're just finagling it. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over, and I don't usually do this with binding, but I want to press this just to make it easier to fiddle with on the other side because it's going to be tricky, I can already tell. So I'm going to press this kind of open and bring it back. I am back and got it all kind of pressed in one direction, and I think I'm just going to go for it. We're just going to start here, and I'll kind of fold the angles as I go, and let's just see what happens. You never know unless you try. Now I'm still using the same pink thread that I used on the rest of the quilt. Let me see. I don't even think I own any purple thread to match this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have any purple, so we're just going to stick with this pink, and it'll just be a cohesive look. All right, here we go. All right, so now I get to the turn, and I'm just going to intentionally kind of pivot. And then when I get to these outside corners, that's where I need to create a fold. So something pointy, like I love to use my little seam ripper, but a pointy tool for this would be super helpful. Just to hold that there. And just make sure you get a stitch onto the folded side. And then pivot. And then up we go. Just a few stitches in, and I've got to plan for that next angle. Okay. Hopefully that works. So you really, because I have just, these are like 1-inch segments, so I just have a few stitches before I'm moving on to the next little crease, especially on these outside flower petals. Okay, trying the best I can to make it a smooth 45-degree or whatever it is angle. Okay, so this is it so far. Not bad, and I think it'll look a lot prettier when it's pressed. Let's see. This is going to be very slow going. There's the inside pivot point. And then I'm just going to already have this ready. Okay. I don't know, guys. Let's see. Got some extra fabric building up here, so I'm going to create a fold. At that pivot point. And then up. I almost want to, I've never done this before, but I almost want to go over this with another row of stitching to keep it flat. Is that crazy? I don't know. I'll press it because, as you know, it's kind of coming up here, and I think it'll do that all the way around. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'll figure that out. I'm going to keep going. I'll speed this up and we'll just finish this. Got the binding done. I didn't end up filming the rest of the binding because my battery ran out. But we're back in business and the binding is done, and I just wanted to show you. This is what it looks like right after it's finished. It has kind of like a lettuce edge, like just roughly edge, and that's great for if this was a baby quilt. But this is a table topper, a table runner, so I didn't want that. And so what I did is I starched this half and just pressed it really good with a hot iron, and it flattened up really nicely, like perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and starch the rest, and then we're done. Let's see, we're at 34 plus 8, about 42 inches long. And it actually ended up being about, this one is about 16 inches wide. Let's see, the other one that's not finished. Let's see, yeah, same. So I thought they would be 14, more like 16. So it's a little bit wider than a normal table runner, which I actually love. So there it is. Give you a little close-up look. I love this. Now, I was earlier contemplating doing an extra layer of stitching. I don't know. I've just never seen that done in binding. What do you guys think? I think it looks great as is. I love this deep purple. It's not as deep as the back. It's just a shade lighter, but I love how it frames this. Look at that. There we go. So it frames it really beautifully. I'm going to go and put it on my table and take some pictures, and I'll share those with you. I hope you enjoyed this project. I learned some new things and was happy to share with you my journey learning those things. So we did this cutout edge, which required a different type of binding, and it worked out great. It would have been nicer if there was like lots of space to do these angles, but we did it. We did it, guys. And it worked out, and then we were able to figure out the joining of the binding pieces. So yeah, all really good. Some free motion quilting, easy, and a fun cutout edge. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for joining along with me. I hope you'll take just a moment to like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. And most of all, I wish you a very very blessed day. Okay, bye-bye.